Did the recording start? Yes, it did. Usually it tells me that it started. Okay, so you guys are going to have to say, yes, it's okay that this is being recorded. So, welcome. This is Beyond Perfectionism, from self-sabotage to superpower. And I'm so excited you're here. This is a really important subject because we perfectionists are here to make the world a better place. And yet, sometimes because of our little perfectionistic ways, we block ourselves, and it's not great for us. It can be very painful in a way. And it's also like we're sort of robbing the world of what we could bring to it. And so that's why I'm really glad you're here. It's going to be better for you. It's going to be better for the world. So here we go. First of all, I would like to ask you to, if you can, grab a pen and paper, because I'm going to really give you some, like, you know, information. Like, I'm not going to be just like, hey, you know what you should do is you should meditate more. We're really going to get into it. We're going to dive down into those 4 principles underneath perfectionism. So please get a pen and paper if you can. Please turn your camera on if you can, if you feel comfortable. Even whether you have your camera on or not, please bring your chat up and be active in that chat, because the more you participate in this, the deeper it's going to go into your psyche. So I'm going to be asking you guys some questions. I'm going to say, put it in the chat. Try to do that. And also, if you have any questions, I will look at the chat as I'm talking, and usually I'm able to kind of catch your questions and answer them. Sometimes if I don't answer your question, it's because I know I'm about to talk about that in just a minute in full. Sometimes I miss the questions if there's a lot of, other things going on in the chat. So if I do miss your question, please ask it again at the end, because we will have like a full sort of Q&A at the end. Okay. So if I miss your question, it's not because I'm like ignoring it. It's because, like, whoops, I didn't see it. So let's start out just opening our sacred space and feeling our connection to each other a little bit and to the universe. So I'm going to invite you now, if you can, to close your eyes, take a nice deep breath in, hold that for a few moments, and then slowly breathe out. Just by breathing deeply in and out, you're down regulating your nervous system, and you're letting yourself know, I am safe, I am here. And you guys are here for yourself. You're here to make things better in your life. So really be here. So I'd like you to just imagine or visualize going down into the earth, pulling up a ball of energy from the earth, sort of that powerful flowing earth energy. Allow that ball of energy to move up through the soles of your feet, moving up through every cell of your body, and kind of popping out the top of your head. And now that ball of energy in your mind's eye looks like a beautiful ball of light floating a little ways above your head. You put your consciousness into that ball of energy and light and let it rise up and out and up and out through the stars, beyond our universe, through different layers of light and dark and light and dark. And finally, far above you, you visualize this sort of ocean of sparkling white light, and you rise right up into that ocean, no longer feeling your ball of energy and light anymore, because now you're feeling your oneness. It's like you're a drop on this ocean, and this is source energy. This is the quantum field. We imagined going up and out to it, but really it runs through all of us, through all things, through everyone. When you're ready, take another deep breath in. Let it go when you're ready, and open your eyes. So, I am Tara Greenway. I'm an intuitive coach. I help people get unstuck from anxiety, perfectionism, self-sacrifice. I already said anxiety, depression. Whatever you feel stuck in, you can get unstuck. And today, of course, we're talking about perfectionism. So first of all, I'd like to just kind of take an informal poll here, and you can just put yes in the chat. If, when you make a mistake, do you feel horrified, embarrassed, apologize, possibly over and over and over, and maybe even think of that mistake that you made a lot of times, like for a few months or sometimes for a few years? Anybody do that? Put yes in the chat. Yes, yes, my fellow perfectionists and hopefully recovering perfectionists, yes. Put yes in the chat if no matter how hard you try or how much you achieve, you feel like you really should be doing a little better. No matter how well you do, you really feel like, could be better, could be like that person, could be like that person. More yeses. Put yes in the chat if you pass up opportunities in your work life or maybe even in your personal life because you feel like you don't have every qualification you should. Just sifting through things so that you know what your perfectionist tendencies are, because sometimes we're not even aware. Put a yes in that chat if you get headaches that you can't explain, stomach aches, back pain, insomnia from just stress, just your life. Yeah. What about using, I call it using a when then clause for why you haven't really tried for what you really want yet? Like when I blank, then I'll blank. So when I lose weight, then I'll go on a dating app. When I get another degree, then I'll ask for a promotion. When I get married, then when I have kids, then I'll start my own business. When the kids grow up, then okay, you get the idea. When then clauses. Put yes in the chat if a lot of your self-talk, like that voice in your own head, involves, this is a really big one, you guys, criticizing yourself or others. Does the voice in your head mainly tell you all day what you're doing wrong and what other people are doing wrong? Yeah. Yes in the chat if you feel crushed when somebody criticizes you. I don't think anyone loves getting criticism, but I think we perfectionists just feel like my life is over. Somebody has criticized me. Also, if you defend yourself in your mind before anybody has actually criticized you, we're going to talk about this later. Does anybody else do that? Like, yeah, always. What's that? And put yes in the chat if you're usually behind schedule, not because you're not paying attention, but because you pay so much attention to detail that it's hard to move forward. So if you had more than one or two yeses there, and I have a feeling you did, you, my friends, struggle with perfectionism. Now, listen, I don't want to make you not a perfectionist. For one thing, that's impossible. I couldn't do it. Secondly, like I mentioned, we perfectionists are here to make the world a better place. We can see what is wrong, what is going on. We can even see how things could be solved. We are willing to work hard. We strive for excellence always. You may think that this is true of everybody in the world. It's not. It's the perfectionists that feel this way. And yet, sometimes we block ourselves from moving forward with sort of the dark side of perfectionism. And that's what we're going to talk about here today, how to move that from a self-sabotage to a superpower, because you can have success and peace. You can have excellence and trust the universe instead of just freaking out in your head all the time. I think it's no accident that you are here. I think you have shown up for yourself. I think you're ready for this. And I really have a soft spot in my heart for perfectionists because I'm a recovering perfectionist. I've been through this. I'm going to tell you a little story in just a minute about my own life that really let me know, like, you got to get through this. You can't keep living this way. So I am going to offer you guys, and this is if you're live or watching the replay, a free 45-minute get unstuck Zoom with me at the end if you want to take advantage of that. More on that later. It does take, because I want to be honest here, it does probably take more than one masterclass to turn your perfectionism from a self-sabotage to a superpower. This is going to go a long ways toward helping you understand, like, what even happened? Why am I like this? And what could I do about it? But you might need a little bit more support than that. 95% of people need a little bit more support than just being told what to do, So that's what that Get Unstuck Zoom is about, like how to move forward with support. So let me tell you a little story from my own life. I was teaching a 3-week-long workshop in a technique that I have now practiced and taught for 20 years. This was I think about 8 years ago. Most of the workshops, I had taught many, many workshops in this technique before, but most of the workshops, and it's theta healing is the technique. And in fact, that's where that little visualization that we did at the beginning came from. That's a theta healing visualization that was created by Vianna Steibel. So I had taught many classes in theta healing. Most of them are 3 days long. There's a couple that are 5 days, but there's only one 3-week one. And this was my first time teaching this 3-week workshop. It's called Intuitive Anatomy. It has a lot of very dense information. And when I say workshop, it's not like a 1-hour workshop. This was a 6 or 7-hour workshop every day for 3 weeks, except weekends. So it was a lot of dense info. We talked about each system of the body, the physical stuff that can happen, the emotional stuff, the beliefs that are attached to each system. And so I was solid on all of that. That's right up my alley. And each day there was a list of herbs that we were supposed to tell the class, oh, and these herbs might help this or that. Well, my perfectionistic mind couldn't just read the list of herbs, which I suspect is what most teachers do. Here's the list of herbs that might help the system. I didn't feel okay with that. So every night after I got home from teaching the workshop, and then dinner, and then homework and bedtime with my kids, I would sit down. By this time, it's like 9:30 at night, and cram for the next day. And I would make sure I knew everything, because how many other people would do that? Has to be perfect, right? Has to be perfect. And then around 11 p.m., I would get to the herbs, and I'd Google the herbs and what do they do and what do they interact with. And finally, about 2 weeks in, I was completely exhausted. And around 11 o'clock, I was like, time to Google the herbs, My body was like, we can't do it. No, don't Google the herbs. Just read the list of the herbs. As long as nobody asks you a question about them, you'll be fine. Well, fell into a restless sleep, guilty because I didn't think that I was being perfect enough. Just before I woke up, I had one of those really vivid dreams that you wake up from, and I dreamed that I was walking across this very long footbridge, very high up from the ground, and I was walking along by myself, and suddenly there was part of the footbridge that had given way. And I could see that in order to get to the other side, I would have to jump over the gap. And I was like, well, that's the only way to do it. I guess I'll do it. And I went back a few steps so I could get a running jump. I ran up, and then I stopped and realized I'm never going to make it. It's like a 10-foot jump. I can't do that. And it was a really long ways down. Suddenly, my perspective shifted from being above the bridge where I was to being below the bridge. And I looked up and realized it was an optical illusion. There was only 6 inches between where I was and where I needed to jump to. It wasn't even a jump, it was a step. And I heard in my mind very clearly, there's no way to blow this. And I was like, oh, there's no way to blow this. It looks like a huge leap. I'm so anxious about it, but really it's just a step. And I went to my class that day all happy and, like this is going to be a great class. And I taught the whole thing and everything was great. And I got to the list of herbs and I just read it off. These are the herbs that go with this system. And somebody raised her hand. I have a question. And she asked a question about one of the herbs. And I looked at her and said, that's a really good question. I don't know. We'll have to research that. And she just went, and that was it. Strangely, the world kept turning. Nobody left the class. I was not reported to, I don't know, God, everything went okay. And from that moment forward, I trusted myself instead of trusting in, okay, I'm going to get everything right. And that's why nobody will criticize me and I'll be perfect. I just trusted myself. It's going to be okay. I started sleeping at night instead of worrying all night about the class. I started enjoying myself teaching instead of freaking out. So that moment was when I knew for sure. If I hadn't known before, and people had been telling my whole life, probably you too, oh, you're a perfectionist. But that's the moment that I knew that I had to get to the bottom of this perfectionism thing for myself and also for my clients, because I tend to attract clients who really struggle with perfectionism. And I didn't want them to feel this horrible feeling all the time of like, I'm just not enough. So I figured out, I channeled really these 4 principles that are underneath your perfectionism, because this will help you greatly in navigating it. So, are you ready? Here we go. The first principle underneath perfectionism, and I think this is by far the most important, is someone or someplace taught you that you had to be perfect to be accepted or loved. And we're putting that in the chat so you can really write that down, I would say. Someone or someplace taught you that you had to be perfect to be accepted or loved, and you still believe it all these years later. So my question for you right now is, who taught you that? Was it a parent that you came home and this is, I've heard this from clients so many times that I've lost count. Did you come home with a 95 on a really hard test and show it to your mom and dad? And your mom or dad said, what happened to the other 5 points? Or was it a coach who demanded perfection and maybe they were known as a really great coach, but they were so mean and scary? Or was it more of a place like an institution? Was it a church, synagogue, mosque? Was it a school? Was it like a sport? Was it a whole, at one point I had all these clients from American Ballet Theater. Ballet is just infamous for doing this to people. Was it a thing where you felt like your body had to be perfect? Or was it your intellect that had to be perfect? Was it your spirit that had to be perfect? What had to be perfect? Who taught you that? And what effect has it had on you? What have you made it mean about you? So and please share in the chat if you can. Yeah, still got a lot of yeses in there. And if you can share, if you feel comfortable sharing, it might really help somebody else to be like, oh, I see, me too. So I will share that I was brought up within the church, and it was a really good church. I learned a lot of great things there. One thing that I learned, though, was that I was sinful, that I would never be enough, that I was separate from God. And what I made that mean about myself was, well, I have to try I have to try really, really, really hard in order to ever be okay. And so that's what I did. So can anybody else put in the chat something that you can see like, oh, this is how I became a perfectionist? Maybe we were kind of born with that tendency, But who fostered that? Who told you you got to be perfect? Who drove that into your head? So share in the chat if you can, if you are kind of tracking all this and yeah. So one person said, my parents. Oh, more than one. My parents, my ballet teachers, told you the ballet thing, my acting teachers, and teachers in school. So it came from, oh my gosh, that's a lot of people telling you need to be perfect. And you took that in. And sometimes it can be also just if you guys are like, I don't know what person, it can be just society at large, especially for women. We are really taught, and it's getting a little better, but it's still out there. You're supposed to look this way. You're supposed to be thin. You're supposed to be quiet, just society in general. Another person said, observing my mom and her perfectionism. Yeah. So she might have passed that on without even realizing it. And another person said, yeah, ballet for me too. It's about ballet. I guess just doing that to your body, you have to be really a perfectionist. I don't know. It's beautiful, not anti-ballet, but I have had a lot of clients who it really made them struggle. And what it does is it brings things up so that we can heal them, right? So we can be really integrated. So here we are healing it. So I really think that this is, like I said, the most important principle that you need to understand about your perfectionism. Somebody taught you that, but you don't have to keep believing it. So it does create beliefs like I have to be perfect to be loved. No matter what I do, I always fall short. I'm intrinsically not smart enough, not beautiful enough, not talented enough, not special enough. So one more question about this point. How does that show up in your life today? At work, are you the one who stays till 8 o'clock at night and everybody else went home around 5:30 or 6? At home, are you the one who does everything and nobody else even tries because either they know you're going to do it, or if they do try, they don't do it well enough for you, and so you might as well just do it? How has this shown up in your life? I want you to just look at what it's doing to you now. And think about for a minute, what would your life look like without this perfectionism? What if you didn't have that voice in your head criticizing you all day, every day? How free would you feel? What would you even do with all that time you have if you're not criticizing yourself? So to really understand how much this is affecting you, you have to know that these beliefs about, oh, I have to be perfect to be accepted or loved, they're subconscious. They're not conscious beliefs. We don't walk around saying, I have to be perfect to be accepted. Like I didn't prepare for that class I told you about and think to myself, okay, I have to be perfect. When I teach this class tomorrow, I know about all the herbs or God will be mad at me. It wasn't conscious, right? It becomes just part of us. It becomes a subconscious belief. And you probably know it's our subconscious beliefs that are sort of creating our lives. They're running our lives in the background. And we might feel like victimized by them. The great thing is, if it's your belief, once you find that subconscious belief, once you're aware of it, you get to change it if you know how. So this is one thing that I do with my clients. That's what the theta healing technique is excellent for, is finding these subconscious beliefs, really pinpointing them, and then transforming them. So it's not as simple as just, I should not be a perfectionist anymore. You really have to get at those subconscious beliefs. Let's see what some folks are sharing. Would definitely free up some mental space. Yeah, if you criticizing yourself in your head. Someone else said, folks depend on me and my perfectionistic tendencies. Yes. If I did less of this, it would allow someone else to have this opportunity. Yay. This is true. And we don't think of it that way, that we're kind of taking, opportunities from other people. It doesn't seem like that. But in fact, we are kind of not trusting them to do things if we constantly have to be the one who does everything all the time. So these things that we believe are not from truth. They're not the highest truth. They're from fear, right? The truth is that you deserve unconditional love, unconditional approval, especially from yourself. You deserve to live without criticizing yourself all the time. And you deserve to live without motivating yourself with fear. because that's what you're doing. And we will get to that more in just a second. What if you motivated yourself with your purpose instead of with fear? How cool would that be? More on that in a minute. So I do want you to know that okay, somebody's battery is running down. That's okay. It's going to be recorded and you'll get the replay. But yeah, make sure you watch the rest because I don't want to activate all your stuff and then not resolve it. So I do work with clients on these subconscious beliefs. I have, I think, a couple more openings for one-on-one people. I also have a group container emerge where we really work on this stuff. In fact, it's a 6-month thing and we do a whole month on perfectionism. So it's really cool and very supportive. Okay. Second principle underneath perfectionism. Perfection is rejection. Perfectionism is self-rejection. If you're a perfectionist, you literally motivate yourself by rejecting yourself. Have you noticed that your inner voice is usually saying, oh, nope, well, what if that's not right? Well, what if somebody else is doing this better? You're like pushing yourself forward by slapping yourself in the face. It doesn't make sense. But here's the thing. It works. That's what's tricky. Perfectionism works really well to achieve results for a long time. And then what does it do? It produces anxiety, exhaustion, wanting to just sort of like give up on life, burnout, resentment. Oh my gosh, it creates so much resentment. Living in fight or flight. It prevents you from starting things because you're afraid you won't be perfect with them. Sometimes it prevents you from finishing things. It definitely blocks your creativity and your flow. It definitely impacts how you can enjoy your life. So perfectionism is a really tricky thing because it's not just like, it's not like we're on heroin or something and everybody kind of agrees, well, that's not a good thing. Get off that. Perfectionism can really serve you and those around you. So it's a trickier thing. So let's talk a little bit more about motivating yourself by rejecting yourself. I call this moving the finish line. If you, no matter what you do, always like, well, you could have done this better. Well, at least you how many people have said this to themselves? Well, at least you finally got that done. You did something. And instead of being like, yes, got that done, check, you're like, oh yeah, finally, we're so hard on ourselves because it works. Like when I was teaching that class, that 3-week class, I was teaching really well. Probably the students didn't notice the difference between the first 2 weeks that I was teaching, freaked out, and the last week that I was teaching, more relaxed, trusting myself, because I did a good job the whole time. It was me. I'm the one who was impacted by all the perfectionism because I was being a really good teacher by torturing myself. So who has done that? Who has taken an experience that could have been like a really great experience, like teaching that 3-week class? Oh my gosh, that should have been the pinnacle. Like I had to really foster students along for years by the time they qualified to take that 3-week class. They would have had to take a lot of other of the shorter workshops with me, and they had to take 3 weeks off work. It was a pretty expensive class. And it was an amazing, healing, transformational class. There were so many good things about it, but I made it just like insufferable a lot of the time for myself, instead of being like, yes, I get to teach this great class, these 8 wonderful students, So yeah, this is one of the things we do. Yeah, somebody's like, yep, I've done that, and you look back and I wish I could have like enjoyed it. So this is something to know about yourself. You're motivating yourself by rejecting yourself. And like I briefly mentioned, what you can do is learn to motivate yourself, not with fear like you are right now, but with your purpose. What if you motivated yourself by understanding, oh, I have these gifts to share with the world, and I am longing to help this world to change. You're motivating yourself with your purpose instead of with fear. And it works so much better. Again, this is deep subconscious stuff. You have to change your beliefs at the subconscious level. It's not going to work to just like tell yourself, oh, you should stop motivating yourself with rejection, or maybe you're a total genius who doesn't need any more support than that. But most people are going to need more support than that. So stay tuned. Okay, third principle underneath perfectionism. Your perfectionism paralyzes you by preventing you from living in the moment. Because in the mindset of perfectionism, you're living either in the past or in the future. So maybe you've heard before that living in the past is depression and living in the future is anxiety. And a lot of people talk about living in the past or the future from the perspective of mindfulness and finding joy in your life, which is all true. But it also deeply impacts your ability to get things done. Because if you're regretting the past or worrying about the future, it really doesn't get anything done. What it does, though, is take up a lot of time. It's very time consuming. And that is part of what's blocking you from moving forward. So we perfectionists, like I mentioned at the very beginning, have a dread fear of being criticized, right? We don't like it. Now you know that that connects back to that first principle of I need to be perfect to be loved. If somebody criticizes you, you may not be hearing like, oh, I needed you to delve into that more in that report. You might be hearing, you're not good enough. You're not accepted. We're going to kick you out of the tribe, So now you know why you take it so hard. But that's what I call this rerunning. We go back into the past and we rerun all the times that people have criticized us. Why? So that we can like get out ahead of it, right? And not let that happen again. And then we're thinking about the future. Okay, what if this person says this? I'll do this so that this person doesn't criticize me in this way. What if this person gets upset with that person? I'll do this so these two people don't get upset with each other. I call that pre-running. So we're rerunning the past, we're pre-running the future. What are we doing in the present? Probably like sitting here biting our nails, right? We're not getting anything done. It takes all day to do this, or all year, or maybe the rest of your life. So if I hadn't figured all of this out, take that class for an example, what are the chances that I would have kept teaching workshops when I was like, it was just hellish to teach that workshop? I would have limited myself. So I would have robbed myself of my purpose in teaching this healing technique, one of my purposes. And I would have also robbed the people that I came here to teach. Now, maybe they go out and find another teacher, but maybe I'm supposed to be their teacher, So if you figure this out and rise above it, your life flows much more smoothly. A great antidote to this habit, which is probably pretty entrenched of rerunning and pre-running, is meditation, which helps you come over and over to the present moment. I will tell you that it is extra hard for perfectionists to meditate. Why? Because it's hard to meditate. It's hard to live in the moment. And we perfectionists like to do things right the first time, right? So it's very hard for us to sit there with our eyes closed, meditating, and every 3 seconds, our mind goes to the rerunning or pre-running. And so you might have tried meditation and found it a little bit too challenging. If not, that's great. If you meditate regularly, beautiful. But I use, and I do recommend and teach and practice meditation, but I also use something I call circuit breakers that are a much simpler way to bring yourself back into the present moment. They are just quick little circuit breakers that help you to come back to what is happening instead of what you're worried will happen or what you regret happened. So I got to say, in our group container Emerge, this has been so valuable, these little circuit breakers and the support that we're giving each other in Emerge. So we have our monthly meetings. I won't go all into that, but one thing that we do is also have 15-minute little check-ins once a week. On Mondays, we call it Wins and Learns. And that is because Nelson Mandela said at one time, I never lose, I either win or learn. And so we come real quick on a 15-minute Zoom, all of us, and we each have maybe 1 or 2 minutes, maybe a few minutes more. If somebody's like in crisis, we give them a few minutes more. And we talk about either like, hey, I did this, it was a win, or hey, this happened, and here's what I learned. What we found is a lot of times it's the very same thing. It's a win and what some people would call a loss or a learn, all wrapped up into one thing. But it's so helpful to have the support of a community instead of sitting by yourself, criticizing yourself. Okay, so you ready for the fourth principle underneath perfectionism? I call this the unicorn effect. This is a belief that no one else can truly understand you or really hear what you have to say. It's kind of believing like, okay, most people, all people except for me, in fact, are horses. I'm a unicorn. So you can see it's kind of nice because it's special, right? It's also incredibly isolating. You feel like nobody really gets you. You feel like you're like bringing your message to the world and nobody can hear it. And that is just a way of keeping yourself small. Because if nobody can really understand you, and if you're really isolated, then you would have to do everything, right? Nobody else could do it. And even if you manage to do everything and get your message out there, whatever it is, well, nobody's ready to hear what you have to say. They're just horses. They're not unicorns. Except this, again, is based on fear. It's not based on truth. The truth is that, yeah, you probably are a unicorn. You are probably, because you're here and I attract people like this, you are probably a highly sensitive person. You are probably pretty spiritual. You probably know that you were put on earth for a purpose. That's really cool. It's just that you're not the only unicorn. There are other unicorns. And what you need to do is find them so you have your herd of unicorns. What happens so often with my clients and students is that they come in to the world, they're born this special, sensitive, kind, intuitive soul, and they're either born into a family that's really got a lot going on and is very troubled and in a lot of pain, or they're born into like a great family, but they, don't have to look far to see the suffering of the world. And so these sweet little souls, and you were probably one of them, think to themselves, oh, I must have been put on this planet to suffer and to sacrifice myself for these people who don't seem to understand even what love is. So then you go through your life suffering and sacrificing yourself and being a perfectionist. And like I said, that works for a long while until you just burn out. And nobody sent you here to sacrifice yourself. Nobody sent you here to suffer. You are here to achieve your purpose, but it doesn't mean that you have to suffer, that the earth is an awful place, that nobody could possibly understand you, that there's nobody else like you. You just need to find the other unicorns. We're out here, I promise. There are a lot of us in Emerge. I know I keep talking about it, but it's something that would help so much a recovering perfectionist. And it's a really cool little community. So what to do? I promised you that I would give you some tools right here in this masterclass, how to go from a perfectionist to a recovering perfectionist. I want to start out with what not to do. I want you to not berate yourself into not being a perfectionist anymore. Okay, that doesn't work. I hope that this class doesn't make you even harder on yourself because now you're a perfectionist and you have to get over, be kind to yourself. So the first step, I've got four, I don't know, I think in four. So this is 4 steps too, but they're quick. The first step in recovering from perfectionism and using it as a superpower, not never being, not striving for excellence anymore, but using it as your superpower instead of your sabotage. The first step is to fully actually accept yourself, even your perfectionism. Embrace yourself. Have compassion for yourself. And I know that might make you nervous because now you're thinking, oh, you're going to take my perfectionism away from me. No, we are just making it so that once you accept where you are, that's when you can actually transform. If you keep rejecting yourself, like we said, it works for a while, and then it just tortures you and stops you. So the first step is going to be for you to compassionately and kindly, and maybe even with some humor, accept yourself. Okay. Second step in recovering from perfectionism, find your flow. Stay in flow state. There already is a flow that exists in the universe. You don't have to create it. You don't have to make a flow. You just have to jump into it. All these things that we've talked about are kind of preventing you from being in your flow. What you want to do is find whatever helps you, whatever tools and practices get you into flow. And there are so many techniques out there. I have about 4 different techniques that I empower my clients and students with. There's even more out there. You need to find what works for you. What can you do for 20 minutes every morning that will help you to stay in flow? What can you do for 5 or 10 minutes on your lunch break if you start getting all freaked out and out of flow? You have to stay in flow state. And you're not going to just like lay there and float on the current and wonder why the universe doesn't bring you things more, And you're also not going to swim against the current. Oh, and the universe doesn't want to give me this, but I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. You want to go with the flow of the universe and be taking actions. Okay. That's how you stay in flow. Third step, be a good boss. Be a good boss of yourself. So, like we said earlier, we've all had that one or maybe more than one teacher, coach, parent that was so hard on us, so mean. And they did motivate us. They did teach us, probably like the little Olympic gymnastic girls, or who I always think of with those coaches that are screaming at them, right? It really like kind of works, except those girls have a lot of issues, and most of us couldn't even have survived that long. So be a good boss of yourself. We probably also had that one teacher who we learned so much from, and also she was so kind. She always used humor in teaching. She never belittled people. She would tell you when you were going off course, but she wouldn't make you feel stupid when she did it. That's who you want to be. You want to be a good boss of yourself. This involves, again, unconditional acceptance. It involves being able to change course without flailing yourself. It involves boundaries. It involves being kind. Be a good boss of yourself. This is stuff to work on. And the fourth step, like I kind of keep saying, is to find support. Because you guys, this is a lot, and I know it's a lot. You're probably not going to leave this masterclass going, oh, you know what? Not a perfectionist anymore. I find usually people say, I know all this, especially perfectionists. They say, I know this. You're right. Yep. Those are the things I've got to do. I know. I completely agree. I should change my beliefs. I should accept myself more. I can't do it. Right. So you're halfway there by seeing it all. And the other half is to find a support system that will enable you to stay in this flow, to change those beliefs and those practices that you're just really used to. And like we said, they get pretty good results, we achieve, right, by torturing ourselves, but you need to find a support system. So I invite you to meet with me. I have what I call a Get Unstuck Zoom. It's 45 minutes. And what happens on there is that I will ask you, what is going on in your life? What keeps happening that you would like to stop happening? And as you tell me that, yeah, and we've got a link in the chat right now. If you want to click on that link, it will take you to my Calendly, and you can choose a time that works for you. And it's really easy. It'll take you right there, and then you can just choose your time. Make it in the next couple of weeks before you forget all this stuff. Okay. So we can really talk about it, and you can take action on this while you feel inspired. So what we're going to do is, like I said, you're going to tell me what is going on that you're so sick of. As I'm listening to your words, I'm really listening to what's underneath your words. I'm listening and I'm asking the universe for what is the major belief system that this person keeps stumbling over. What is it? So then I will share what I am intuiting from the universe is the belief system that keeps keeping you down in its whirlpool. And then I will ask you, what would you love to happen in your life? What is your vision? You'll tell me. And then we will talk about how you could get from where you are to where you want to be. That may involve working with me further. It may not. I don't have time to work with everybody. And of course, it needs to be a good fit between us. So that's part of what that free 45-minute Get Unstuck Zoom is about, is for us to just get to know each other a little bit and see if this is the right thing to support you to keep going, or if this was just like a really great masterclass and a really great 45-minute talk. So I want to open it up for any questions. You can put your questions in the chat. If we have time, I can, unmute you and you can go live, but start out just by putting any questions about any of this stuff in the chat, because I am here for that. I love answering your questions. And I just want you to remember too, that the world needs us. I know that you probably showed up here today because you're sick and tired of being a perfectionist, and good. I don't want you to be hard on yourself anymore. I do want you to motivate yourself with your purpose. I do want you to learn to accept yourself because you deserve that. I do want you to live in flow. I do want you to have boundaries. Actually, I teach another whole masterclass on boundaries. I want so much good stuff for you. Also, at the same time, you are here. We perfectionists are here for a purpose. And I think you would agree that the world needs healing right now. So it is time for you to totally heal and be a recovering perfectionist, because we don't have that kind of time anymore for people to be stuck and not able to give their healing to the world. People need us, and you are, I bet, a unicorn. You're just not the only unicorn. Here we all are being unicorns together. That is how we're going to change the world. otherwise, obviously, there's no way one of us could do it, right? We have to get into our herds, our unicorn herds. You have to find your tribe. So, any questions at all? Yay, I love the unicorn emoji somebody put in there. And also, like I said, go to that. Did anybody have any trouble with the Calendly? Are people like going there and finding their times? I think in the next couple of weeks, I have plenty of times open for you guys. If you don't find anything that you can do, email me, Tara@beyondyourbelief.com, and we'll find a time. Tara@beyondyourbelief.com. I think I have a question. How can we catch ourselves in the perfectionism pattern in real time before it spirals into overthinking? That is a really good question. Because we're probably already overthinking, but I know what you mean. How can we catch ourselves before we spend all day overthinking and in that paralysis of rerunning the past or pre-running the future, right? I think it takes what I call circuit breakers, because one trap is we perfectionists, we're usually super intelligent, and we feel like we believe we can think our way out of anything, because we usually can. Like, we're really good at thinking and we're really hard workers. We can usually make things happen. And often we're even really good with other people. So we can get other people to kind of do what we need them to do. And, but before all that, we have to kind of break this pattern. And so there are literal little circuit breakers. Let me see if I can think of one super easy one that I can teach you right now. So this is maybe my favorite one. Here's a circuit breaker. You cross your wrists over your heart. And when we are busy, sacrificing ourselves and overthinking and stressing out, we're probably getting a little bit into fight or flight. And our hearts are probably going a little bit faster than really they need to. So first you start tapping your hands back and forth at the rate that you kind of feel like your heart is going. And you take a deep breath in, hold it for a few moments, and breathe out. And you'll just kind of naturally, your hands will start tapping more slowly. And this is going to get your heartbeat to slow down a little bit. And now what we're doing is paying attention to what's going on in our bodies instead of trying to control what's going on out there, which is how we spend most of our time. So we're like, oh, I'm in my body. I can be calm. I can do this myself. I don't need somebody else to act a certain way or say a certain thing in order for me to find my power and my light and my calm. Now, what's my next step? So you bring yourself back to yourself. We perfectionists tend to be like out there a lot and making sure that everything's going right. And you bring yourself back to yourself and remind yourself of your practices. So it's great to have a practice that works for you, whether it's theta healing, EFT tapping, internal family systems, Donna Eden stuff. Those are all things that I do. Fabulous to have a practice like that. There's also about 1,000 other practices that you could have. And then to have these little circuit breakers in your day. Yeah, does that answer your question? It makes sense. So thank you. Does anybody else have a question? Yep. Good. All right. If there's no other questions, we will close. Let me just take you back into that. I like to think of it as a column of light. You are very welcome. So since we have another couple of minutes here, I want you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Take a nice deep breath in, hold it for a few moments, and then slowly breathe out. Imagine that ball of energy moving up from the earth, up through your whole body, coming out your crown chakra, the top of your head, and then continuing like a ball of light going up and out and up and out. And now it's as if you've created this column of light that was actually already there. You're just bringing your attention to it. You can zoom up and down this column of light at will. You can zoom way up to that source energy, that universal creator of all that is energy, where you came from, where you're a part of. You can zoom back down into your body. You are always connected. There is no way to be disconnected from this universal energy. Right from there, take a nice deep breath in. When you're ready, open your eyes. Okay, you guys, thank you so much. Please get in touch if you have any questions. I hope that you signed up for one of those Get Unstuck Zooms. I hope to see you soon. Take care.